Hello and welcome to Six Figure Souls Doing Good and Making Money. This is a very special season 7 highlighting my co-authors of our new collaborative book project, The Ultimate Guide to Becoming a Successful Soul Professional. I'm your host, Camille Miller, lead author for the book and pioneer of the soul professional movement. Today we are interviewing my co-author, Jolinda Johnson. Sorry about that. Award-winning certified life coach and holistic health coach specializing in burnout and perimenopause. Jolinda, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Camille. It's a pleasure.
You are welcome. So tell our listeners a little bit. First, we'll start with what you actually do right now, and then we're going to talk a little bit about your journey and your business. So share with us what you actually do right now.
Well, in terms of coaching, because at this point, my business is comprised of coaching, speaking, and writing.
Okay.
And in terms of coaching, I work with people in midlife, primarily women who arrive to their 40s, sometimes 50s, chronically stressed, dealing with changing hormones, feeling like they can, since they're high achievers, all the things that they have done to get to their current level, to motivate themselves, to stay on top, are no longer working. In fact, they're working against them. And they just keep trying to, the more they try to do, the less and less they actually accomplish, because they've never figured out how to actually support their body and their mind in their pursuit of success. So I use my training as a holistic health coach to help them build a really strong foundation with basic things in terms of nutrition, sleep, exercise. But the more interesting part for me really is, as a life coach, looking at, okay, now that we have the foundation, what are we going to use that for? Like, what major changes are we going to make in terms of your mindset and your boundaries and how you treat yourself on a daily basis, how you talk to yourself, what's next? Because midlife is such a time of, I'm halfway through this thing, and is this all there is? That, a lot of us know that feeling of like, I followed all the steps, I checked off all the boxes, but I still feel unfulfilled. So what's next for me? And that's what I really love about coaching, is that it gives people the space that they need to discover what's next, to take a breath, hit the pause button, and really tap into their inner wisdom, and then follow some very concrete action steps to create a whole new life.
I love that. So what did you do before this? Like, what, I feel like everyone in holistic health has this aha moment of, I'm pivoting and I'm going in this direction now. So I'm always curious about your journey that brought you to doing what you do today.
Yeah. Well, I started, my first career was as a teacher. Okay. So I was a teacher for 10 years. But I was very good at teaching, but I knew that it wasn't my sole purpose. It was totally something, it really felt like a waiting room, kind of like, what am I really here for? And when I did my health coach certification, I was just looking for a way to, at that point, I was still in my 20s, and I was very interested in titles and certificates and things like that to legitimize my experience. And I thought, I have all of this knowledge, but no one would believe me because I don't have a certificate. And it's interesting because when I was doing that certification program, I was a vegan. I was recovering from over 15 years of disordered eating and eating disorders. And my whole angle was how to heal your relationship with food. But then I was diagnosed with my autoimmune disease in the middle of my training, and ankylosing spondylitis, which is a form of spinal arthritis. And I had to learn completely new habits, including ditching the vegan diet and eating animal products again. And I thought, okay, I thought that this whole thing was about healing, helping other people heal their relationship with food, but apparently I still have a lot of healing to do. And when I finished that, I was definitely ready to help people, but I wasn't ready to be an entrepreneur.
Okay,
So
I get
yeah,
that.
anyone who is used to a very steady and stable job like teaching, who has now become an entrepreneur, knows what a drastic change it is. Because with teaching, for example, if you put in the time, the hours to prepare a lesson, chances are you're going to get rave reviews. Your students are going to do well, and
Yep.
but in the world of entrepreneurship, you could put your blood, sweat, and tears into something and it might not take off, or you might not see that kind of
Yep.
response right off the bat, and it takes some time, and it's just, so I lacked confidence. But then I did my life coach certification, realized that I actually, no, what showed me I had the confidence was the birth of my son, because giving birth and then spending that first year essentially by myself with a baby in a foreign country made me realize that I can do hard things.
I love that.
My mom was fighting breast cancer at the time as well, so I really had to figure a lot of things out for the first time, and I had to divorce myself from the story I'd been telling for too long, that I couldn't do it, that I couldn't figure it out on my own, that it would be too much. So it was after my son was born that I was like, yeah, actually, I've been telling myself lies, and that's what I decided to do my life coach certification, because I was dabbling, even though I hadn't officially launched a business, but I was working with pro bono clients and getting practice and things like that. But I realized, wow, I'm really missing the tools to get underneath what's driving all of these choices and habits. And I didn't really know how to answer those questions that lead to transformation. And so that's when I studied with a coaching academy in Australia, who I now actually work for as a support trainer, which is a lot of fun.
Okay.
And I launched my business officially in 2017 as a fertility coach.
Okay.
So when I officially started working as a coach, I was on the opposite end of the spectrum. I was helping women maximize their chances of conception through diet, lifestyle, and mindset. And again, I was really good at that. Just like teaching, I was really good at it. But after a couple of years, I felt like something's missing. And I think a big part of it had to do with me no longer wanting to conceive, knowing that I was happy with a child of one. And so it wasn't my personal passion. But also, I wasn't prepared to market myself in the world of infertility. My whole thing was always to be proactive about it.
Okay.
Prepare yourself, avoid some of the challenges, and not just prepare yourself on the hormonal front, but also for what that journey is, going through, pregnancy and motherhood. And so I thought, well, okay, if I'm going to pivot, then what's next? So I cast a wider net and I said, okay, well, women's health in general, let's see who comes. And the women who were coming were all over 35, were all chronically stressed, but didn't want to admit it. And struggling with burnout, even though they didn't call it that. And also showing the symptoms of perimenopause, but not realizing that's what it was.
Right. Totally get it. Yep.
Yeah. So I was like, sometimes they say what's meant for you is the thing that just keeps showing up over and over. And that's what.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And what I'm also hearing is, as you grow, which this happened to me, who I attract changes, right?
Yes,
and who I want to help changes, because I'm in this new phase and I know about that, right?
Yes,
so it grows as you grow.
Yes, exactly. But then I discovered that I was actually really passionate about perimenopause, not just for the, because of how I can help on the hormonal front, but also just the incredible transition that it offers us. we have a lot more, despite the brain fog, we do have a lot more opportunity for clarity in terms of what actually matters to us and how we want to spend our time and our energy. And the whole thing of giving less well not caring so much about what other people think. And but it's also quite intentional when you look at postmenopausal women, the typical postmenopausal zest. You look at those women who are approaching 60 and beyond and who are just like full of life and vivacity and confidence. That's not by accident. You don't just arrive there.
Yeah.
So perimenopause is really that training ground. Midlife is that training ground. Like, so who do you want to be? Who do you want to be on the other side of this? And most of us, we want to spend the last part of our lives just, enjoying everything that we've worked so hard to achieve and feeling good in our bodies and spending our time and our energy on the things that truly matter. So whether that's the relationships that we have or our soul's calling that we might have ignored, for many years out of fear that it wouldn't work. It's a really beautiful thing to be able to witness people who come to me saying like, I just don't know what's next. I feel so lost. And by the end of our time together, they're like, okay, this is where I'm going. Things are happening now. I'm on the right track. I'm happy with who I am. And I finally have the energy that I've been missing, because that's where the burnout comes in.
Right.
Because if you don't have the physical energy, then you can dream all day, but you need your body on your side, right?
Absolutely.
So, and that's it sounds like such common sense, but it's quite a revelation for a lot of my clients. Like, oh, right, I actually like need to take care of my body first if I want to do all of these things that my mind wants.
Yeah, it's all of it. It's like the circle of life, right? You have to take care of all. So, so how do you see your business? I'm just curious. Well, first let me ask this. Do you work one-on-one with people or in group programs or both? Both.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you feel like your business will grow like 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Because you'll be different. You'll be in a different stage. Do you feel like everyone will kind of grow with you? Of course, your clients would be the same age because they're all growing too.
Yeah. Well, knowing what I do about the second half of life, I think that maybe not in 5 years, but definitely 10 years, I probably will have shifted to more of a training model. So, because there really are very few people who know how to do what I do and the way that I do it. And I would love for there to be more who understand like just how complex a midlife woman is and how to serve her in this very holistic way, and also, that's inclusive, especially for BIPOC and LGBTQ plus people, both of which I am. And so, I see that as a possibility. Definitely more writing, which is perhaps another shift that's already underway. More speaking, but I still love coaching. That's the thing. I've never been one of those coaches who takes on more and more clients to fill my books. I really do believe in not everybody needs a racehorse,
Yeah, I totally understand.
And the truth is that if you are a high performance, a high performance coach needs rest, needs white space, because your clients have a lot that you need to hold. So if you're running yourself ragged, you're not going to be able to tend to them as they need. I can't serve high performers who are coming to me on their second or third round of burnout if I myself am burnt out.
Gotcha.
So
do you work with a team at all? You're talking about training people. Is it to make your team bigger, or is it so they have their own businesses?
It would be for, well,
it could go either way. Yeah.
It could go
the way to scale.
Way, but yeah, it could go either way. But here's the reason why I say is because I was recently invited to apply for a menopause coach certification program. Okay. And they sent a chapter from the course textbook, and I was like, so this is basically everything that I've been teaching for the last 3 years.
Gotcha.
It's probably time for me to
do your own certification.
Yeah. That's I love that. That's in the future, but one of those things that of course clients always come with the thing that they when they talk about it, it's like yes, this is what I really want, but then the fear gets in the way.
Yep.
And so the certification thing for me is an example of that, where it's like I intuitively know that's what will eventually come, but it's still a bit like I have to work through a few things on my end before that becomes a reality. But I'm sure it's on the horizon. Yeah, it's just like writing my book. I always knew that I would be a published author, and it wasn't until a publishing company in London contacted me last year and said, we'd really like you to write this book. By the way, you have 6 weeks. And because I had wanted to write a book for so long, yeah, exactly. Because I had been wanting to write a book for so long, I actually could get it done in 6 weeks because I had so many things written already, but sometimes we just need, everyone works differently, but I'm definitely someone who just needs a tap on the shoulder.
Yeah.
And then it's, full speed ahead.
Well, that's a great segue to my next section of our book. First of all, do you want to tell, I know that you have your own book coming out in August, you said?
Yes.
You want to plug the title?
Sure. It's behind me there. It's Resilience, 10 Ways to Overcome Burnout and Exhaustion.
Awesome. So we can look at that.
Yes, a very practical guide. And each chapter includes personal anecdotes as well. So it's a fun read because, if you're burnt out, you really don't have the capacity to read a textbook.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's exciting. And then our book, which I share the title of my chapter.
Oh, sure. Tell us the title of your chapter, and then I'm going to ask you some questions about our book.
Also related to overwhelm. When it all feels like too much, strategies for managing your well-being in times of overwhelm.
Yeah.
So because that's something that so many entrepreneurs deal with.
Oh my gosh, all the time. And honestly, the best thing that I find when I'm in overwhelm, because it happened this week, I don't know what happened. I think I hit a wall and all of a sudden came down, and I was like, okay, stop. Just stop what you're doing. Let's get out of here. Let's go meditate. Mm-hmm. So after this, I'm taking today off. I'm like, we're going to go walk. I was like, when you don't push harder. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So for our book, what was the driving factor that made you say, I want to be a co-author in this book?
It just felt like something that fell down from the sky. Like I got an email and from one of the other authors actually inviting me to apply, and I'm just that type of person that a lot of times when things come out of the blue, I pay attention. And I thought, oh, okay, well, I think I had finished my own book a couple months before. And so I still felt like, I do have some things to say. And it just seemed like an interesting project that would be fun to be a part of. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And um, what would be your advice, let's say, for someone who's,
Mm.
thinking about becoming a life coach or any type of coach?
Mm. Um,
Get
Keep
trained.
working on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. um, yeah. Get trained, but also check in with yourself and make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Because I feel like I was certified in 2017. Since then, I've done many, many more trainings. But lately, I just, especially on social media, just keep seeing so many things for, get your life coach certification in, 6 days, or, become a life coach and earn six figures in the first month, and, things like that. Why spend an hour with your client when you can, you know, shift their energy in 5 minutes?
Right.
And for me, I just, when I decided to become a coach, it was never about getting rich, and it was never about getting rich quick. It was about wanting to uh, use all of my many talents to, well, in service. And and I do believe that, um, abundance comes from that,
Yes, I agree.
but it was never with as that, as, like, okay, I'm going to ignore all the things I really want to do just so that I can get paid, for example.
Right, right.
Um, so because it's being an entrepreneur, but really this is just like anything in life, and especially in midlife, you have to enjoy the process. It can't always be about the end goal or the destination, So if you find yourself like, I'm going to struggle, because I want X, it has, when I don't have a tolerance for that anymore, So I have to connect with something in the process, in the evolution, in the becoming, that gets me out of bed every morning. If not, because you never know if the goal is actually going to be what you imagined it to be. And a lot of times, once
Love
we
that.
finish something,
Yeah.
we feel almost let down. It's like, oh, okay, so what's next? You know, um, so
I
it's
love
really
that
connecting with
attitude.
the
I never
process.
thought of it
Yeah,
that way, but it's actually the becoming of what you
yeah,
dream and being
yeah,
so open to the opportunities of what that could look like. I think
yes,
sometimes people hold a vision of this is exactly what it's going to look like, but
yeah,
you're trying to control something too much, and
yeah,
it's not likely going to look like that.
yeah,
Right? You get to this
yeah,
place, and it could be so
yeah,
much better than you imagined. So to
yeah,
hold that
yeah,
dream as
yeah,
I say, it's a vision, right? So you hold that
yeah,
vision for yourself to get
yeah.
vibration there. Yeah.
I always say, hold tight to the vision, release the timeline. Um,
Oh, that's such good advice.
yeah,
That's terrific.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so many things that we live in such a fast-paced world, so we're all familiar with the get this done yesterday
Yeah.
mindset.
Yeah.
Um, but I really love being present, and for me, that's one of my personal measures of success, is how present am I today in my one and only life? How appreciative am I of the things I already have? Um, how am I treating people? Like, what's the quality of my relationships? How am I nourishing myself? How much time do I have to just be, without the expectation of doing more, producing more? And I think when we think about wealth, um, if you are making X amount of dollars, but you
You're
don't have
miserable. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
but you've sacrificed your relationships, your health,
Yes.
your free time, your hobbies, all these, like, then what is that money for?
Yeah. You're
And
not
so
whole.
it's exactly,
Yeah.
because money is great, but it's not, um, if you only
Enough.
have money, but divorced from all those
Yes.
other things, then So it's a
Yeah.
balance.
Yeah, it's definitely a
Yeah.
balance. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Jolinda, how can people get in touch with you to learn more about your work?
So
Or
I'm
you?
most active on Instagram at Coach Jolinda.
Okay.
Of course, they can go to my website, jolindajohnson.com. And if you are going through perimenopause or over 35, and expect you are, there's a 5-part video series on my website, completely free with a workbook.
Awesome.
I'm on LinkedIn, and Facebook, all the social media channels, Coach Jolinda, you can find me.
Fantastic. And
Yeah.
for our listeners, all of Jolinda's bio and information and all of her social links are in the show notes. So if you're listening to this while you're driving or doing something else and you can't write anything down, don't worry. They're all in the show notes and you're able to grab them at any time. Well, thank you, Jolinda, so much for being one of my co-authors in this brand new
Yes.
book. Very excited about that. The Ultimate Guide to Becoming a Soul Professional, and for being with us today on this podcast.
Thank you, Camille. My pleasure.
You're welcome. And thank you, our listeners, for joining us today. For more information about the Soul Professional Movement, go to soulprofessional.com. This podcast is sponsored by the Natural Life Business Partnership, a global professional society and business incubator for the soul-aligned entrepreneur. If you live in a higher vibration, have an alternative approach to business, and want to help repair the world, join us for our next meet and greet. To find out more, you can go to soulprofessional.com to find a date and meeting in your time zone. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you soon.